Today's AskReddit post, Fathers of Reddit. In honor of Father's Day, what was your don't tell your mother about this moment? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. My dad and I, around 5 years old, were on our way home from a car show when we were getting followed by the cops. My dad struggled to put on his seatbelt quickly in hopes he wouldn't get a ticket. Unfortunately, we got pulled over. This might have been the first time ever that I saw a cop this close up, let alone speak to one. I was a deer in headlights the whole time. Well, with the cop on either side of the car, the officer leaned in and asked my dad why he was swerving. That dick told the cops I was tickling him. The cops looked at me straight in the eyes and asked if this was true. I was too scared to say anything and just nodded yes. The officer smiled and said, "Never to do that again while your father is driving." Okay, they left without any further words and my dad gave me the lecture of don't tell your mom, apostrophe, and X200B, TL, DR. Dad and I get pulled over when he tried to get his seatbelt on. Blamed it on me tickling him instead. When my 3-year-old wakes up in the middle of the night, like maybe 3 times a month, instead of putting her back to sleep, okay, her stay up and partake in whatever it is I am doing no matter what. Sometimes she falls asleep in minutes and so many times she stays up for a couple hours. I think it's amazing times. I think it may even be dreamlike for her by the way she speaks and moves. She has painted with me, heard my books read aloud, watched Lord of the Rings and cooked creme brulee. The rule is, it's my time, so if she's gonna be with me she does what I'm doing just like I do for her all day long. She totally gets it and never makes it about her. My goodness. Thank you everybody for your comments and your awards. What a special day to be recognized as a father. My dad did this as well. I'll never forget falling asleep in his lap while we watched Gunsmoke. Not a father but a son. We forgot my passport during vacation and were already at the border station when we noticed. My dad then said that we won't turn back but that he will figure something out. Turns out he smuggled me successfully across 3 border crossings without my passport. Before we arrived at home, he told me not to tell my mom about this. How the hell did he manage that? Stuff you in a suitcase? Depends on when this was and what border. Early 2000s, my sister and I were able to go across a super small Canadian-US border with our parents and no passports. Just went through and told the guards we didn't have passports and they let us through no issue. One night when I was about 8, after I had gone to bed, my dad was playing a Nintendo game. Legend of Zelda, I think. We had both been playing it but we were stuck. He finally found a secret passage, paused the game, and came upstairs to wake me up. He told me he figured out where we were stuck, snuck me downstairs in a blanket. I'm sure my mom knew, and I got to stay up after midnight on a school night, hiding under a blanket, to see where the hidden passage went. It was a silly little incident, but very memorable. This is so sweet. I can't stop smiling at the imagery you've given me. This is so cool. I love this. When my son was 6, I was playing Grand Theft Auto late at night. He wakes up and comes to the living room, tells me he can't sleep, and asks can he watch me play. I say he can but not to tell his mom. He agrees with a big smile. Maybe after about an hour he is playing and I'm watching and helping him. He can't stop laughing, driving into people and running from the cops. I was telling him to watch out for the 50 and he asks me what that means. So I tell him it's the cops. He just shrugs and keeps playing. Now fast forward about a week later and we are all driving in the car. All I hear is a scream of "Dad, watch out, it's the 50. And I absolutely start crying from laughing so hard, all while his mother is questioning where he learned that. He just says YouTube. She found out later that I'll let him play GTA. But I hope the memory of that is as special to him as it is to me. One of my gaming mates has a kid who pipes up in the background sometimes playing the Switch, and the poop he's picked up from his old man is hilarious. Bowser, get wrecked. Asterisk. In the winter, he would put the toboggan behind the 4-wheeler and take us out into the fields and ride around. My mom found out after it tipped and my face got beat up and was bleeding everywhere. Fun. Edit. A toboggan is a sled in the use of an item you slide down on in the snow. Edit 2. Whoever gave me an award. Thank you. Thank you so much. Edit 3. Okay, whoever gave me gold is very kind soul. My dad would do that but behind his car. I'm not sure how he thought that was a good idea, but it was sure fun. When I was in middle school I was the only one willing to go shopping groceries with my dad. He didn't want to go alone and my mom was at school studying her masters. None of my siblings wanted to go with him. We used to go to Carl's Jr., have a big breakfast, and then we went grocery shopping. Nobody knew, not even my mom, until years later. He would also let me buy any cereal I wanted. That's actually how I learned how to buy good fruit and veggies, how to order meat and fish, etc. When my siblings found out they were angry BC they would have gone if a big breakfast was on the menu. My mom just laughed. Nowadays they sneak to have breakfast together before going grocery shopping since we're all grown up. Edit. Thank you so much for the award. Party popper. When my wife's at work, I will take my daughter, 4-year-old, out for breakfast. Then we will go on a small adventure around a shop of her choice and pretend whatever she wants. Last time we went to a car parts shop and rolled tires around as we were freeing the rollings from Monster. So far my wife doesn't believe her when she later on grasses me up. TBH, it's the only thing pre-COVID I miss doing. This brought back so many good memories of my dad. Thank you. Dad was putting new roof shingles on. I was probably 3 maybe 4. I asked if I could help. He said if I could climb the ladder, sure. I was always climbing so that was no issue. Climbed right on up and started handing him shingles. It would have been a don't tell your mother moment had she not come home from grocery shopping. After several back and forth of where are you and up here mom, she figured it out and flipped out. What is he doing on the roof? Edit. I'm not a dad so I posted on behalf of my dad. My dad always wanted a son. I'm the last of 4 girls, so I was a huge tomboy. Whatever he was fixing I was right there. My mom gave up on these things after a while. Fell off so many things because of this. Not a father but I was with my dad and we thought it was a good idea to start a small fire on the porch. The wooden porch. It was made of mostly paper and we made sure to scatter the embers and everything, but after we went inside and to bed, the wind must have kicked up because we came outside the next day and there was a giant hole burned into the porch. My dad just told me, hey, don't tell your mom, I'll get it fixed. He then proceeded to cover it with a small table. She found out anyway and we're pretty lucky that the house didn't burn down. Not a real don't tell your mother about this moment, but when I was little, my dad had a workshop in the garage where he'd do woodwork. I'd come out and talk to him while he worked, and he'd let me sit on the car that was parked in the garage. He framed it as something that was so bad and edgy and we couldn't tell my mom, and I was 5, so I believed it and felt so cool without actually doing anything wrong or dangerous. When I was younger my dad and I would always go to the movies together. It was our thing. I always looked forward to it. Also, when I was about 11, we would often watch Family Guy or South Park together. Certainly not age appropriate, but nothing too terrible I don't think. However, one day he took me to see Team America, World Police when it came out, made by the guys who did South Park. I think he realized his mistake during the puppet intercourse scene, and immediately after said don't tell your mom about this. R.I.P. Dad. Love and miss you. I was having a good heart-to-heart with my stepdad as a teen. We were chilling in the shop where he does most of his odd job work, and by the end of our conversation he pulls out his bong and asks wanna keep going? But don't tell your mom, she will throw my ass through a window. Ironically enough, the way they met was at a bar and my stepdad was hitting on her and she said she could throw him across the bar. He dared her, so she did. He told me that was the moment he knew he would fall in love with her. Edit. The entirety of this thread is so wholesome and wonderful to read, it's taken up a good couple hours of my time going through all the stories posted here. Brought some happiness to this bleak time for many people and that makes me happy. Well, it seems when your mum threw your dad, he fell in love. dad scratched the car after an idiot turned and rammed into us. He told me to just keep it a secret and he slid me a few singles to keep my mouth shut. But she found out anyway, lol. You're getting paid? I understood that reference. One for my dad. My dad took me to my first MLB game. God, I miss baseball. And told me not to tell my mom. Later found out it was because the game was a good bit outside of the travel radius set in the custody agreement. They were arguing a lot more than usual at the time, so he knew mom would say no if he asked about it. But really wanted to take me to a game. Told me not to say anything so she couldn't use it against him while trying to take him to family court again. Luckily I didn't say anything and we got to keep sneaking away to games until the travel radius stopped being a thing. Dad still has the tickets too. What team? It hurts living in Pittsburgh. Nice try, mom. Can I sleep over? Only if your mom says yes. I'll make the hot wings. You bring the brewskis. My dad taught me how to play throw rocks, where you toss a handful of rocks in the air directly above you and run away before they hit you. I was playing one with my cousin and got clunked on the head by a big one and bled all over my face and shirt collar. I went crying to dad and he paid me $1 and a piece of gum to keep quiet about the throw rocks game and just tell mom my cousin threw it at me. My relationship with my cousin has been irreversibly damaged since then because I lied on him and he never wanted to talk to me at games, so we drifted apart. What flavor was the gum? I took both kids out at around 13 to show them how to drive. Just in big empty parking lots or in the neighborhood, but they loved it and I enjoyed a little secret with them for a while. That's how my dad taught my family to drive. Except my mom was fine with it. I got my permit 3 months ago and I drove before that. My dad used to hoist my siblings and I to the ceiling in a garbage can with a come along and swing us back and forth. Fun as hell. But don't tell your mother. With a come along? What does that mean? It's a ratchet straps type device. Hook an object you want to move on one end and attach the other end to something sturdy won't move. Crank the handle and it pulls the first object toward it. Basically a manual hand winch. My dad and I were emptying the car of a half side of beef to the freezer when I noticed that he was having some issues holding the packages and there was a thick bandage peeking out of the cuff of his shirt with some blood on it. I asked him what was wrong with his wrist, to which he replied a glass shield on an electric meter shattered at work and slit my wrist. I had to get stitches. Don't tell your mother. Dad hurt himself. I said don't tell your mother. Snitch. Granddaughter speaking on grandfather's behalf. When my mom was young, her mother would always bake a bunch of sugar cookies and store them in the pantry until Christmas. After she baked them, my mom and her dad would sneak into the pantry one at a time and eat the cookies. After about 2 months, they had finished the whole batch. My grandmother went to fetch the cookies on Christmas only to find crumbs left. She was pissed. LOL. Miss you. Opa. Red heart. Wait, she kept cookies for 2 months? I'm not a dad, but this is about my father. It was freshman year and I was 13. That day I ran a mile for rock warm up, went to dance class, had wrestling practice after school which always includes weightlifting and running a mile for both warm up and cool down. Then worked 4 hours construction. Just got home. Thought I was alone. Went outside and sparked the joint I was looking forward to all day. My dad steps outside, sits right next to me, hands me a beer and asks about my day. He never said anything about the smoke. The end of that conversation ended with don't tell your mother about this. I'd be proud as hell of a 13-year-old child busting their ass like that. My dad, brother, and I went out to these dunes near where I live with bottle rockets. We each had an empty milk jug and each took like 20 bottle rockets for ammo. Then, we ran around launching bottle rockets at each other. I was the youngest, which made me the hardest to hit, so I won the rocket war. But yeah, mom never found out. Your hitbox needed to be nerfed. Or give the dad and brother an agility boost or SMTHN. Mofo was prob like 5 feet 2 LOL. My mom. I have never been with any man other than your father. nor has he been with any woman other than me, my dad. Oh yeah, when I was first seeing your mom I had like 4 other girls I was talking to on the side. Don't tell her though. Every ice cream cone after a trip to the park. My dad let me drive his car. At 10 years old, it was a few feet, but I almost destroyed the garage before hitting the parking brake to stop it. One day very long ago when I was young, maybe 12 years old, we were playing in the neighborhood and some dogs were big Rottweilers, roaming free, and one of them started chasing us, managed to get to me and pull me on the ground. I was super scared. At this time the owner came and got his dogs off me. I am scared poopless, white as a blanket, going home crying. My father asked what happened, and when heard the whole story and we went to that spot, he explained to the owner not so politely that next time his gigantic dogs are seen not on a leash, will be shot on the spot. Maybe 30 years have passed since, and when I go home to visit the family, sometimes I see this dog owner, again with the same dog breed, 2 dogs with him always, but always on a leash. While building the outdoor playset for my 5-year-old, I drilled a screw completely through a board and into my shoe, barely stopping just as the screw broke skin. I swore right in front of him. Something along the lines of mother ducking duck mother ducker. We are sworn to secrecy to this day. Almost screwed yourself there, bud. Not a father, but I love telling this one. My dad called me and my brother when we were like around 12 and told us, so what girls you like? And we went like Dragon Ball girls are pretty hot. Then he revealed to us the biggest life-changing secret. Well guys, let it be a secret between me and you, but you can find naked pictures of them online. Then he taught us to never click on the ads or believe the scams, how to find legit sites, to never ever pay for it, and which kind of stuff to avoid. We carefully listened like that was the most important highly classified government information ever. Bruh. Speaking as the son, my dad and I weren't so close in my youth, but we did both enjoy the theater. Both movie and Live, Team America, World Police had just come out in theaters. My dad decided one morning to take me to the movies. If I recall correctly, there was some other action flick in theaters, and that was the movie he suggested. I was down for it, and my mom of course saw no issue. She would have taken great issue with him taking me to see something like Team America. We got to the theater and instead of going to see that action movie, we saw Team America. It's not a humor high on either our lists, but we enjoyed it on that shared sophomoric level men share with their teenage sons. As we were getting back to the car, he tuned to me and said, "So, what movie did we see?" Being quick on the uptake, I answered with the other movie. Mom was none the wiser. Story about my father. When I was about 6 or 7 we were really hard up for money at the time, so we cut down on all expenses, saving change. My mom would go out of town for work every other weekend. My dad would save up a few dollars over the weeks, take me to Waffle House for breakfast, go on a walk on the beach, then take me home and let me play the I Spy computer game on his work computer. He would always teasingly tell me not to tell mom about Waffle House. I don't think she would have been mad, but it was fun to have something just the two of us would do together. I love my dad. Red heart. I'm a mother, but sometimes when I come home, my kids smell suspiciously like grape soda. Neither the kids nor my husband ever have any idea why that is. If the worst they do is sneak a bit of grape soda, "You're doing okay, mom." It's really funny to me, because my husband knows I wouldn't care. We try to limit sugar where we can, but a little grape soda won't kill them, lol. When we were kids my dad took me and my sister out on a bike ride. My sister had her own bike while I was sat in the kiddie seat on his. At some point we come to a stop, and I guess my sister was still a little unsteady on her bike because she started wobbling. In a bid to help, my dad leaned over to steady her, so much so that I flipped right out of the seat. In true 90s fashion there was only the single buckle to keep me in, and landed right onto asphalt. I was fine except for the deep scrapes right across my face and abdomen. It was completely an accident, but my dad panicked and told both of us, "Oh god, don't tell mom," and ushered us home to patch me up. He caught some hell from mom because he couldn't hide a face injury, especially when it started scabbing over into an ugly mess, but he impressively managed to conceal the rest by volunteering to be the one to bathe me and put me to bed every night. It got found out anyway a couple weeks later when we were playing with an inflatable pool and a family friend was like, "Goodness, what is all that?" Right, double quotation mark. During the summer holidays from uni, me and my dad went for some drinks down the pub. He seemed a little off and anxious. I asked him why, but he was really cagey. Eventually he said he'd tell me, but I had to promise not to let on I knew. Him and mum were getting a divorce. They were waiting until my sister's exams were over before they told anyone. Growing up, my parents were always at each other's throats, but the previous month or two had been really nice with my family doing stuff together. Turned out he'd been trying really hard to change my mum's mind. Had to keep my mouth shut for about a week. Was a very weird time. I have a story, but it's too long to tell. I'm sorry. If you need to talk about it or vent, feel free to message me. It was a series of moments, and we were poop-teared hiding things from mom when I was very little. Dad worked first shift and mom worked some evenings. Dad liked to watch The Twilight Zone and the like. I enjoyed them too, but would get scared after he put me to bed and they played hell getting me to sleep. Hence, mom ruled that I was not allowed to watch them anymore. Every time mom was at work, I would wheedle until dad let me stay up late and watch his shows with him. I would promise that I'm bigger now. I won't get scared. I'll go right to sleep. And every time, mom would get home from work at 10 PM and I'd still be awake, wide-eyed and scared of the dark. My dad has passed away, so I'll tell this on his behalf. My sister was maybe 10 or 11. My dad was very worried and had been waiting all day for us to come home from school. When we got home, he pulled her aside saying he needed to have a serious talk with her. He said to her, "I was looking for a pencil and found this in your desk," and pulled out a plastic baggie filled with some dried plant material. She said, "Oh, catnip?" He thought it was pot. We would make little cat toys with catnip and the bag had ripped, so she put it in a Ziploc bag. He sighed a huge sigh of relief and laughed and told her he thought she was doing drugs and asked her not to tell our mom. He was so embarrassed. Hey, in fairness to him, if you're worried, it's better to communicate openly about it than it is to sit and stew on it. By addressing the concern directly, he got to know there's nothing to worry about, and all it cost him was a bit of dignity. Not a father, mine passed, but as his daughter I'm sure this is definitely his biggest don't tell your mother moment, with me at least. I can't speak for my brothers. I was about 13/14 and had chronic insomnia. My dad worked nights, so on his days off he'd often still be up late. I was burning some mixed CDs on my computer and ran out of blank discs, so I went into the lounge to go get a couple more from the cupboard. I walk in on dad watching lesbian porn. I remember two blondes with huge fake boobs. Dad flinched. I covered my eyes and for some reason thought to myself, well, I've seen it now, and made my way over to the cupboard at the other side of the room to still get those blank discs. Walked out without saying a word. The next morning, dad came down to me and said, "Please don't tell your mother." I never did. A couple of years later he got really sick, and after about 10 years of severe COPD he passed away. I look back on this and laugh. It was gross to see, sure, but looking back it's funny, and it reminds me of a time when he was healthy. Damn, I miss that man. Homesick from school as a 13-year-old. Let him watch Deadpool, which mom had said no to a few months earlier. User are a hero. My father got into a fender bender and needed his van back, which we had borrowed to move. Took the train over 1 hour to come get the van from us at 10 PM on a weekday. Somehow, he got away with leaving his car in the garage for a week before it got fixed. Mom never questioned why he was driving the van, and apparently never noticed the crumpled front of the other car. LOL. Edit. I words. Welp, I'm a dad, but I think my best story would be from my father. He wanted to take us outside of the Scottsdale, AZ city limits to see Halley's Comet. It was a huge deal when it came through in the 80s. We drove about 45 minutes north of town into deep desert. We spent some time viewing it. It was rather disappointing. And we heard dogs barking in the distance when we first got there. But they seemed closer, then closer. It was pitch black. I think we had a flashlight, but that was it. We started heading back to the car. The flashlight was shined at a fence in the distance and about 5 terrifying looking dogs started right at us. We literally got the doors to the car shut as drooling, snarling. Dogs started jumping up to the windows and getting in the bed of the truck. We peeled out. And don't tell mom about the dogs, okay? Your mom's brother was almost killed and eaten by dogs when he was little. Saying this in honor of my dad as he is very old and does not read it. He once cut the end of my toe off as a baby, cutting my sharp baby nails, and my screaming brought in my brother. He joined forces to get me all bandaged up and told my mother I'd banged it into a wall or trapped it in a door or something. My mum found out, and by extension so did I, when I was 10. A wholesome one. For my mum's 50th birthday he bought her a set of vintage diamond and pearl earrings and a necklace. I helped him choose them out. I'm never allowed to tell her just how much they cost. The time my dad challenged me to a street race back home from dinner after getting my first car. When I was 7 I shot my dad in the hand with a .22 pistol while he was trying to teach me how to shoot the revolver. I had been shooting the rifle for a couple years already, and since I asked, he thought if I might be ready. Long story short, I wasn't. Since I had got him lower on his index finger, he passed it off as that he had somehow jammed his hands in the truck door. I even backed him up on the story. I knew how much trouble we'd all be in if mom found out I shot dad. When my dad made a slide out of snow on the stairs of our porch and let my friends and I slide down it in an old litter box. Good times. My dad's most recent don't tell stepmom about this was when he gave me a goodbye hug last time I saw him. Yes, it was during COVID. I live on the other side of the country and I don't know when I'm going to see him next. When I was a senior in high school my dad found my bag of weed and little pipe. He angrily came into my room, told me to get up and come with him. We walked outside to the front porch where he proceeded to load a bowl, spark it up, and pass it to me. We quietly got stoned together and all he said afterwards was, "Make some brownies. Mom still doesn't know." I have my daughter a piece of candy when mama wasn't in the room. I told her that it was a secret. Mama comes back. Kid asks mama if she can have another secret please. SMH. My grandpa, he's a father, took us fishing when my brother and I were 5 and 8. He saw a lure stuck in a tree like 50 feet up a cliff face on the other side of the stream and cast after it. Literally got his lure stuck on the same branch as the other lure first try. How? Dut. Sat us down on the bank. Told us in exact words that we were never allowed to tell grandma about this. And put his waders on. Waded across the full Runoff Mountain Creek and climbed the damn cliff with full waist high rubber waders. Retrieved both lures. Down climbed it. Came and got us and walked back to grandma cooking us dinner hand in hand. I told grandma at his funeral. She smiled, cried, and was pissed at him. He knew what he was about. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.